Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith, and today I am trying to beat the sun. It has been very warm in the UK this weekend, and my office is in an attic. Where I film, I'm in an attic, and I would like to not boil to death today. So we are filming, and we are doing the thing, but I am not waiting for my hair to dry, so you're just going to have to accept that that's the way it is. Today is kind of the, I think, conclusion. I can't quite decide. I'm going to say probably the conclusion of a vague series I've been doing on the channel where I talked about duologies, trilogies, series longer than 5 books, and so such. And today we're finishing off with talking about some standalone. And now you could argue this is just therefore a list of books where there is only one book. That's what standalones are. And making the list for this video, I realised that I've read comparatively few standalones. Most of what I read is big fantasy series, or sci-fi series, or novellas in a series. There's been a lot of series happening, and sometimes you just want a book that you can finish and be done with it. Now, obviously, in some cases on this list, there are going to be things where one day the author might bring out a sequel. It's why there's no V.E. Schwab on this list, because I figure at some point in time she's going to bring out a sequel to all the things that at the moment are standalones. But it's just a bunch of stuff where you could read it and be done with the story in one book, which I very much enjoy. Let's dive in with some standalones. The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. This is a sci-fi thriller kind of book in which we have a main character who is a scientist doing work in cloning, and her husband leaves her for another woman, a woman who looks suspiciously like her. Something's going on. That is the premise of this book on the back of the book. The book is actually way more than that. It's not just the other woman's story. It's so fantastic. It wraps itself up so wonderfully. It's not super long, which I very much like. Sarah Gailey's writing is just fantastic. All of their stuff is amazing. I'm so excited to read No Place Like Home later in the year. Oh, I can remember the name of books. I was blown away by this. I thought it was utterly wonderful. Would definitely recommend, especially if you're a person like me where you don't read a lot of this kind of genre, of this sort of thriller adjacent thing. It just felt really new and exciting to me. Maybe if you read a lot of thrillers, it wouldn't feel that way. But for me, all of the twists and turns, just so wonderful. Loved it. Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I'm aware this has been like a TikTok trending book and it's just been bought by Orbit, so the cover is not going to look like this forever, which I'm so disappointed by because this cover is absolutely beautiful. I'm aware that it's currently shiny, so you can't really see it, but the artwork is lovely. And I don't particularly love the new cover. I'm just saying it. I don't love it. It's another one that's not super long, and this is a reimagining of the story of Dracula's brides. I've read original Bram Stoker's Dracula. I personally find it incredibly funny to read now, but there is a thing where the brides of Dracula aren't particularly fleshed out characters, and S.T. Gibson chose to flesh them out a bit, and I think it's just a wonderful book. It's a wonderful story about triumph over abuse, and this kind of weird fantasy scenario that is simultaneously a complete fantasy and also super real, and I found it a very emotional read, but also the prose is just beautiful. If you just want a book where you can just sink into the sentences, this is that book, and hopefully if you haven't got a copy, you can get one more easily now. Not that this was particularly difficult to get my hands on, but I guess mainstream publisher picking it up. Do we need to have a talk about that at some point? The mainstream publishers picking up indie books that are doing well? How do we feel about that? I don't know how I feel about it. It's interesting. I could put all of A.M. McLemore's books on this list, but I'm aware that I'm making reviews for them I think they're coming towards the summer that Overbooked season will take place. And also I've talked about A.M. McLemore a lot on this channel this year because of that readathon I was doing. So I thought I would just pick out my favourite, because the nice thing about A.M. McLemore is all of their work is standalone YA. And I picked out my favourite, which is When the Moon Was Ours. This is kind of a classic of their work. We have two characters, Miel and Sam. Miel has roses growing out of her wrist, and that's just a thing that happens to her in life. And Sam paints moons, gloriously beautiful moons, magical realism. You just have to kind of accept that's what's going on, and everything's going all right until what are they called? Bonner sisters decide that they want the roses that Miel grows, and they will take them at any cost. They will take them and sort of not mean girls in the sense of the film, but they are mean girls, and stuff's happening. And this is just another book which is absolutely stunningly beautiful. The narrative wraps up really well. There's a lot of talk of identity. It's so fantastic. If you read no other A.M. McLemore book, read When the Moon Was Ours. I loved it. I'm going to do these two together, even though this is a standalone book, but I think we're talking about the same author, might as well shove them together. The Night Circus and The Starless Sea. Let's talk about The Night Circus first, which is my favourite of the two. This is a classic of the genre. I think a lot of people have read this. A lot of people have mixed feelings about it. I personally love this for so many reasons, some of which are nostalgia, personal reasons, some of which are I genuinely just think this is a very good book. If this is the kind of thing you enjoy, if you read The Night Circus and you were like, I don't get the hype, perfectly valid experience. In this we have a competition between two people and also a romance, all in the setting of this magical, semi-magical circus. And it's just a book that drips atmosphere. It's so much atmosphere in this. And I'm astounded that there's never been a sequel to it. There's never been a kind of cash cow event. A lot of people have compared their books to it. Oh, so many. But they've never done a sequel, and I think I'm impressed that they've never done that. Actually, a prequel is what I would expect, I think, if anything. This is one of my favourite books of all time. I haven't reread it in a couple of years, and I would really like to. You can see my edition is so grubby and well thumbed. I love the way this book flits about time. I love the way it flits about characters. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The audiobook is really good as well, if you're interested in that. And then The Starless Sea, which is also by Erin Morgenstern and has a lot of hallmarks of Night Circus in this kind of sense of creating fantasy spaces and fantasy events that you're like, ooh, I'd really like to go to that, and it feels like it's a thing that could happen, but no event in time is ever going to live up to this book. This I don't think is as strong of a book, and I have a video that's getting on quite a bit now where I compare the two, which I will, if I remember, I will remember to link it. But I thought I would mention that The Starless Sea also exists if you liked The Night Circus and you were looking for another standalone. It exists. And this is more a kind of quest-like book than The Night Circus is, which may be what you're into. Personally, I prefer The Night Circus. From that to relentlessly brutal queer sci-fi, it's The Future of Another Timeline. This is by Annalie Newitz, who is a non-binary author, who is also Charlie Jane Anders' partner, I believe, which makes a lot of sense. This is a fantastic book where, how to describe it? There we go. In a world that's just a step away from our own, time travel is possible, but war is brewing. A secret group is trying to destroy women's rights. If they succeed, only a small elite will have the power to shape the past, present, and future. Now, is this a little bit close to home at times? By which I mean a lot close to home. Oh, it's too close to home. Yes, but I still think it's fantastically written, and I really, really liked Annalie Newitz's previous book, Autonomous, as well. I just don't own a copy of that. And I don't talk about this book enough because I think it's a really great example of writing books where it is miserable for women and non-binary people's experience in this world, but it's not an utterly miserable book throughout. You don't just find yourself being like, oh, okay, right, I'm going through it. Like, it keeps it interesting enough that you're not just depressed, which some things I've read recently have very much felt that way. So yes, time travel, feminism. Read it and weep. Now that's a video idea. Just something called Read It and Weep, and it's all the books that have made me cry. It would just be a Robin Hobb book tag. Let's do another YA, because why not? This is Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. I have a video up for this that is getting on a bit now as well, as many of my videos are. But this is a YA standalone, again a circus setting. I can't resist them. I can't. And in this, our main character, whose name I've forgotten, Serena, who is an illusionist. She has magical powers. She can create illusions that are like characters that are kind of weird, creepy characters, but the illusions start being murdered, which is weird because they shouldn't really be alive. It's a murder mystery in this dark circus setting, and it's just, I think it's fantastic. Is it a little bit too YA at times? Perhaps, but it managed to really capture my imagination in a way that a lot of other YA books haven't, and I really recommend this if you haven't read it. The UK cover looks like this. Sorry, editing Judith. I actually think this cover sums up the book better. If you're looking for YA standalones, that's one that I recommend. Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I don't think this one should come as a surprise. This is one of my favourite books of 2019. This is another nice short standalone. This is absolutely beautiful. If you liked elements of Doctor Strange and Mr. Norrell, I can remember the name of books, but you thought that was too much extra stuff, this is like that atmosphere and intrigue pared down to just the good stuff. I really love this book. So we have Piranesi, who is a character who lives inside a sort of house, museum, confused space, and completes tasks or does record keeping for the, I can't remember the character's name, the Other, there we go. And the book is sort of unravelling what's happening as one day something changes. And it's a fantastic mystery. Actually, it doesn't remind me of The Echo Wife, but there's an element of that kind of a world-shifting event happening for a character who was very content in their own world. And I just, oh, I love this. I recommend this to so many people. I have so many friends who this is one of their favourite books of all time. Oh, It's so good. It's so good and just is on its own. Doesn't need any extra stuff. Also, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've talked about this fairly recently in my new releases video that may or may not be up by the time you're watching this, because Silvia Moreno Garcia has a new book coming out that I think is going to be similar. This is a Gothic horror novel that's also got some sci-fi element to it, sort of. It's more Gothic horror. And our main character, Noemi, goes to stay with her cousin who's been sending some weird letters home. So she goes out to this house in the Mexican countryside and stuff starts to be quite weird and spooky, and it's a Gothic horror. How much do I need to explain? But this is a really good look at kind of colonialism, horror tropes, 50s book setting tropes. It's just one of my favourite books of all time. I need to get in a reread because it's just, I throw it myself in the face, it's so good. And absolutely stands on its own, which I found with a lot of, I've read very little horror, but a lot of horror does sit on its own because it's hard to spin out. As we know, horror sequel's never as good as the first one. Oh, Frances Hardinge is another author who's written a lot of standalones. My favourite is Deep Light. I've talked about it a lot on the channel. If I remember, I'll link the review. I'll try and put all the reviews I have down here because there's going to be a fair few of them. Frances Hardinge just writes wonderful worlds, and I'm really impressed that she manages to wrap everything up because I feel like the age that she writes for, this kind of like middle grade into early young adult kind of area, things tend to be very series focused, and the fact that she's managed to write so many really, really solid standalones is very impressive. Deep Light is ocean, kind of horror, kind of spooky, kind of elderly care, weird things going on, and it's just, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'll link the review. The other author who has written a lot of standalones that I talk about all the time is T. Kingfisher. My current favourite is Nettle and Bone, which is out in a few weeks, and this is just a wonderful bone, nettles. That's just the title reworded, Judith. Come on now. This is kind of fairy tale fantasy. It's so fantastically written. There is a review coming out for it in a few weeks. I just need to remember to film it. It will happen though. I'm determined. It will happen. I've been trying to think, because in my other videos in this series, I've kind of talked about what makes a duology, trilogy, longer series good and what changes that. And I think with standalones, it's much harder to articulate because so often it's just, how does this book stand on its own, There isn't the same idea of, is there a trope of the second book slump? Because there is no second book. And I think for me, it tends to be just how much of a journey have I gone on with these characters? And often a lot of the focus is much more on an individual or a single thread of plot. You don't get all of these multiple different things going on, which actually I really enjoy in fantasy. So it's interesting for a standalone to grab me. I really have to like just that one thing. And interesting to me, a lot of the standalones I have loved have been very modern. I haven't read a lot of stuff. Classic standalone fantasy, I just haven't read much of it. And I think that's because I didn't have much influence of that. So I've read a few things that Ash has recommended me over the years, like Deerskin and, what's it called? Zell, I think? Is that a standalone? I like both of them a lot, but I need someone to sort of hand me those. So, if you have older fantasy or sci-fi standalone recommendations, plonk them down in the comments below, or any other books that are standalones that I haven't mentioned that you're like, she didn't mention that. Has she read it? I should let her know. I'd love to hear those thoughts. I like a standalone. I'm trying to read more of them because my series tracker is getting, a little ridiculous. Just a tad. It's fine. I'm definitely going to hit that target of how many books I wanted to get it down to. Definitely. Nothing will go wrong. So yes, I would love those recommendations. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already and you would like more of this kind of thing, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord where we have a wonderful time talking about books. Nothing makes me feel more loved and appreciated than my patrons over on Patreon who support the channel and make things like this where I just waffle at the camera for 20 minutes. Possible. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.